Uncanny Avengers issue 1 finds MODOK and Dr. Stasis making their way through their lair, checking on their newest creation. MODOK asks if he is necessary and Stasis thinks that they'll be getting his hands dirty, and some deniability goes a long way. The being wakes up and the villains introduce themselves, telling him that the world has changed and they are working to make it better and they want his help. Stasis really sells their plight, telling them that America is going downhill fast and only they and Orchis can protect it from the mutants and their country, and they won't rest until the New World Order is made in mankind's image. The being smashes their way out of the pod and MODOK wants to get him a uniform, but Stasis already has one in mind. Weeks later, the Daily Bugle reports on Captain Krakoa's mutant massacre in Washington. Daily Bugle owner and reporter Ben Urich doesn't trust Orchis in the narrative they are peddling, but doesn't have all of the facts yet, wanting to investigate what's going on with them since he knows Captain Krakoa was once Cyclops, and he finds it hard to believe that Scott Summers committed an act of terrorism in Washington, D.C. He knows that Captain Krakoa's false flag operation is working and mutants are being viewed as threats again, which is leading to Orchis rounding them up and dumping them back on Mars, where a civil war is currently being waged by the Arachai and the mutants from Earth. Ben figures that this will be a big story, but luckily he has a source on the inside. At an Orchis filtration center, mutants are rounded up and put on a ship. A cloaked mutant tells the others that if they wish to run, they can now, and they cannot go back to their original lives. An Orchis soldier tells them to keep moving, but the woman refuses to, unleashing a katana and slitting the man's throat, spilling his blood all over his partner. The woman tells the others that if they stay, they fight as she throws off her cloak, revealing it is Psylocke. Psylocke cuts her way through the soldiers, shielding herself with their dead bodies. Ben Urich remembers her attacks on the camps and how she would use hit and run tactics before the Stark Sentinels ever arrived. The fleeing mutants find themselves at a dead end at a fence, but luckily Penance is there to cut the fence and free them, demanding they do not return to their homes or past lives. Psylocke viciously cuts through the soldiers, enraged they killed children and the like on their island. She attacks a guard coming up behind her, but finds it's actually Captain America, who tells her to take it easy. Psylocke isn't surprised that Captain America of all people is protecting their oppressors, but Cap flings his shield at some approaching Orchis soldiers, bouncing it off several of them as he tells Psylocke that he wants to talk to her and Penance about joining forces, since he knows a little something about fighting fascism, and given the terrible things the world has seen recently, an example of unity would be good. Steve wants the women to join his new Avengers Unity Squad, but Psylocke doesn't know if she can stand any of his lectures about her killing, since these men killed thousands of her kind and she's just repaying the favor. Cap tells her to avenge those people as Quicksilver and Deadpool join him, revealing that the explosives they planted are set and they rescued as many mutants as they could, taking them as far as the Canadian border. Penance psychically tells Psylocke that they can always quit if the Avengers turn out to be soft, so the women agree to join the team. The team retreat as Stark Sentinels begin arriving in the area. Penance hopes that these are being dealt with, and Cap assures her that Tony Stark is on it, but he has to invent the technology he needs to defeat them, so he needs time. The team reach the chopper and Deadpool contacts Rogue, telling her of their new recruits and how they are leaving. Rogue meanwhile is surveying an Orchis gulag in New York, however they spot her before she can get too close, making her tell the team that they are going to need some way to blend in if they are ever going to get near it. Over the Pacific Ocean, Captain Krakoa and his team arrive above Krakoa in the Thunderbird. The captain tells Blob that it's too dangerous for them to go home and it's why they fight as a new brotherhood. The captain leaps from the Thunderbird, telling Blob and Wildside to stay aboard and retreat if he trips any of the alarms. The captain, however, bypasses all of the security systems of the island, heading for the pit under the Quiet Council where he finds Andrea and Andreas von Strucker, telling them that their father shook the world and now it's time for it to happen again. The duo agree to help Cyclops, but the captain says that that name is dead and he is Captain Krakoa now and forever. Later in Manhattan, Steve's Avengers team discreetly meets up and heads through the subway tunnels, going deeper under the city into the Morlock tunnels where they meet with the remaining X-Men and Tony Stark. He reveals that the drink he has in his hand is just ginger ale and he's pretending to be a drunk playboy while Orchis watches him like a hawk, but really he's developing technology to try and take down the Stark Sentinels along with his assistant Hazel Hazel Kendall. Hazel, who is really Emma Frost, doesn't think that charade is needed down there. The X-Men soon arrive, introducing Rasputin, who is leading the assault on Nimrod. Emma senses someone is coming in fast as Quicksilver arrives, telling Cap that he found their targets. Captain America and his team apologize and move out, with Pietro grabbing the chatty Deadpool and speeding off. Quicksilver transports the entire team, telling Cap that he was right and their targets were after atomic weapons. The Avengers Unity Squad confront Captain Krakoa and the New Mutant Liberation Front. Rogue wants to know why Blob is working with the villain, but Fred knows that she never cared about Krakoa like they do. Wildside attacks Psylocke as the Strucker twins combine their powers and blast a hole in Deadpool, finding him to be quite annoying, hence why they dealt with him first. Deadpool, however, isn't too fazed by the gaping hole in his chest, as Captain America bounces his shield off of Wildside and the Captain Krakoa's head, racing to confront the villainous Captain. Steve wants to rip his helmet off and find out who he is, as the villain proclaims that he is a fighting symbol for his nation. Cap slams his shield into him, but Captain Krakoa stops it thanks to the Krakoan battlesuit amplifying his already immense strength. Captain Krakoa thinks that Steve's attacks are so obvious and predictable, snapping Captain America's shield arm like a twig as he wants to help break Steve out of his bad habits. In another place, in another time, at the House of Ranks and Numbers, some scientists perform an autopsy on what they know to be a multiversal refugee, discovering this being is very much like their world's Eternals, and the pattern is the same. A scientist retrieves a tesseract from within the being's chest, calling him a carrier. He asks a woman named 97 what they are to do, and the frustrated woman knows that they'll do what they always do, and check the resonance of the tesseract and find out why someone is smuggling multiple cosmic cubes to this Earth.